Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Hayes, and welcome to today's short rant. And I'm really going to try to keep this one short. Lately, they've been rants, but they haven't been short. Today, though, I want to talk about Russian covert mobilization, or what I'm calling Putin's silver lining. So, what is covert mobilization? This is something that the good folks at the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, have been talking about a lot. That basically Putin has called his invasion of Ukraine a special military operation, not a war. And he's in fact, crushing anyone who calls it a war. And so he's got this kind of weird, he's trying to say it's no big deal, but it's become a big deal. And it's becoming a really big deal. And so he needs to mobilize. Yet, even though it's an authoritarian regime, they have certain laws and things about, procedures for how they mobilize the country. And so to enact those measures would require him to drop his initial thing that, oh, this is a special military operation. So they're trying to get around, right? And so this is their problem is in Russia, they're trying to get around the administrative obstacles they've got, and they're trying to, do things to allow them to mobilize for the war. And they're recruiting more people, and I'm not clear on exactly what the difference is of how they're doing it, but their efforts have sparked backlash, right? I mean, it's enough that they're having Molotov cocktail attacks on recruiting stations. So they are getting some pushback from the population with their efforts. But the thing that is motivating me today is they just recently passed economic measures, special economic measures in the Duma that, amongst other things, make it illegal for any company, any legal entity in Russia to refuse a contract with the government. So this is kind of like the Defense Authorization Act in the U.S., and they are passing this thing, and it is now going to be illegal to refuse a contract with the military, which on the surface of it is, okay. That I likened it to the Defense Authorization Act, but in Putin's context, in the context of a government that is authoritarian, or as selectorate theory would say, a small coalition regime, you have a lot of benefits from this. And so this is what I'm going to call the silver lining. So what is the silver lining here? Greater control of the economy, right? This is the thing that if you are a dictator, and if we go with the selectorate theory, Bueno de Mesquita, Alistair Smith, Jim Morrow, Randy Siverson's theory about how a authoritarian regime works, the leader has, of this, it's called a small coalition regime because the leader only needs a small number of people to support him or her and to stay in power, and therefore buys them off with private benefits. As long as those private benefits keep flowing to supporters, then everything's good. The general economy, right? The economy can suffer. This is the big thing about dictatorships. They really suck at policy, right? They on almost every measure they do less well than democracy. For all democracy's problems, a democratic leader has to perform because a democratic leader can't buy off the supporters, right? So they have to perform. They may not perform as well as we'd like, but they at least try, and it shows up. So the thing is, in a small coalition regime, hell, the economy can go to hell. Everyone can be poor. The allies, the leaders, people, as long as they don't, as long as the leader keeps the private benefits flowing, and the leader will, because that keeps him from being killed usually, you don't suffer. So in a weird way, though, as you have more control, right, of the economy, and even, especially like when the economy starts getting worse, right? If you start heading in the direction of being Zimbabwe, where you're just really poor, right? Well, now I would argue there's this perverse incentive. When it's really bad in the economy, you really want to be on the inside, right? Being on the side of the leader, being part of the coalition, being part of whatever apparatus there is to be part of that. In a communist system, you have a party. In Putin's system, it's not clear how you become an inner circle person, but you really want to be there, right? And so being on the outside is worse than ever. So what I'm saying here is this Duma measure on this economic measure on the surface just looks like, okay, they can't refuse contracts and this, looks desperate and blah, blah, blah. But at another level, this is a control, right? You can offer a company a contract that would ruin it, right? That would divert, you could pay a small price, divert them from doing things that they might otherwise want to do and might be profitable. And so you now have an even greater control over a company in the name of patriotism and, Mother Russia and defeating the Nazis in Ukraine, which of course is all BS. But the point is you have that. And so it's worse than ever to be on the outside. And Putin is now going to have greater control over the economy. He's going to have measures to protect the position. His guys are not going to get bad contracts, right? They're going to get good contracts. The people who maybe compete with them or a problem, well, they're going to get crappy contracts and they're going to have to do the work. So this measure, and this is the whole thing about this whole war. Even though internationally it's a disaster for Putin, it's not clear domestically that it is, right? He's been able to control, he's been able to get more power, been able to silence media, been able to, tighten things up in the country. And now he's getting more, with the sanctioning. I always say this is a problem when you sanction a dictatorship or a small coalition regime, is it gives them an opportunity to take greater control over the economy and wield it in their influence. And that is to say, to make sure that their folks, the supporters, are benefiting and non-supporters aren't. And when you make the country worse off, that dichotomy, that growing gap between what it is to be on the inside and what it is to be on the outside can be a great benefit to the leader. So this is Putin's silver lining, and we're seeing this develop. You want to watch the covert mobilization. We want to watch these other things, but I want to watch the time, 8 minutes. Thank you for listening to me. I hope that's a short enough rant for today. Thank you for listening to my short rant. I'm Dr. Dave Hayes, and though I teach at Troy University, this video is my own work. Troy University has neither approved nor reviewed the content, so there. And if you want to follow me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, please feel free. And if you're wondering who would employ a guy like this, or maybe you'd love to be a student, it's not an ad, but I would love to have more students, feel free to check us out at www.troy.edu. And we're going to end up finishing off listening to Tonight at 8 by Shane Ivers.